Welcome, everybody. We are live from we are live from Las Vegas, bringing royalty to the Strip. No, I'm kidding. We are here again as a second segment of Radio Gaga. Amazing. And we're going to go ahead and go around the table for everyone watching and give intros and answer some questions. And then we're going to kind of do a nice roundtable on hot topics of the year and where we're at and what we're hoping for after clock and in the legal industry.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Great.
Yes.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Jonathan Johnson-Swagel. I work at Uber. I primarily work on the contract lifecycle management program there. I've been there for 2 years, a little over, and I'm super excited to be here, chatting with folks about contracting, not contracting, and everything in between. So thanks so much for having me. And Layla, thank you for the crown. I feel royal and sparkly. And the inner queen in me has been, as usual, brought
Unleashed.
out.
Oh, that's me then. Hi. Hello, I'm Emily Calem. I founded Calem, the Legal Ops company. I'm based in Paris, and I'm trying to raise awareness on legal ops in the Paris industry. It's not there yet, but it's definitely getting there. I'm very excited because it's my first time in Vegas. I've been to Clock in the UK, but it's definitely not the same vibe. So yeah, very excited to see everyone and meet new people.
I'm Krista Johnson. I head up legal ops at a company called Lexion. This year, I'm really excited to speak on something that I'm super passionate about, neurodiversity, and I just hope I do well.
And you will.
Absolutely.
So, Colin McCarthy, founder of Legal Operators. This is a first for me. We're in a crown. But it won't be the last time.
Born
right?
to do it this whole time.
It certainly feels good. Having a fun time and just here to chat up with you guys. Thank you.
I'm Michelle Kovich. I'm on the strategic solutions team at ONA. I've been in the space forever. I teethed on e-discovery, but this is my first clock event. And already, with the exception of Marie, these are, and you too. These are all new people for me today. So I'm totally pumped about networking and just meeting more people and seeing what it's all about.
Oh, so it's me. The queen. No, I'm joking. So c'est moi. So I'm Leila El Gabi. I'm a legal tech and innovation expert. So during the day, I'm trying to help people with efficiency. But by night and actually during the day as well, I'm trying to make the legal industry a safer place and more diverse. And so I founded Beautiful Souls in Legal Tech because I believe that everyone deserves to wear the inner queen energy out or inner royal energy. So, and I really hope I'll do well at Clock. And as well, I forgot to mention, I'm part of the Sparker Squad for Clock Talk podcast as a guest co-host. So yeah, I'm very excited about that, gathering people feedback, trying to make people feel good and open conversations that we really need to get on going and walk the walk when it comes to diversity, inclusion, mental health, and all the beautiful things that we do, but who we are. Anyways, I got lost. Time for you, Jonathan.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That was Ellie, and thank you very much for the tiara. It's not the first tiara I've worn. It's certainly not the last one. Colin, I just don't. I'll be honest, mate. I don't believe you. I don't believe that's the first time.
I do this the whole time.
It's not the first time you've worn one. This one is not. It's a bit. I might have to take it off before it falls off and smashes your very expensive table. So I work for Calem. I work for Emily in Paris, and we work in Paris and beyond. And this is my first time at Clock, and I'm looking forward to meeting loads of cool people.
Do you want to introduce yourself, though, too?
Yeah, I guess I'll introduce myself. I am Marie Widmer, and I manage legal technology at HubSpot and do a couple other random things on the side. So I'm happy to be here today.
And you're always too famous to introduce yourself.
No,
Definitely.
Yeah.
just too boring.
You're Mary from HubSpot.
HubSpot's rolling their eyes right now. They're like, not another podcast. So I'm going to go around and we can all give a fun fact about ourselves that we don't think many people know about us. I'm trying to think of mine now. I'm panicking.
Go in the meantime.
I'm over here panicking.
I guess I'll just go with the one that I think everyone is always surprised to find out, which is that I speak Hindi. So that's always a weird fact. But yeah.
I have a lot of weird facts. I'm very weird. I have a strong background in theology and Bible translation, Greek Bible translation specifically, which a lot of people don't know about me. So that's my odd fact. But I also like to bake sourdough bread. I'm trained in opera. I'm a farmer. I grew up on cattle country. We have a 4,000-acre farm that my mother still runs. My grandpa runs a 40,000-acre farm. And we're just country people. And I never imagined I'd be at such a fantastic place like the top of the Bellagio with you fine folks. So thank you for having me.
There was no warm up for this. Like, you didn't give us a question in advance.
No, that's how we roll. There's no lube.
I went a little too long.
Just make something up.
Well, there was an ex-French president at my baptism. So that's...
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Which one?
François Mitterrand.
Oh. Wow, look at you.
Look, even you didn't know. It's just finding things.
I don't know. I sailed competitively in college for the University of Washington and got to race little sailboats in some really cool places.
Amazing.
Awesome. So what class of sailboats do you race?
FJs, largely. Lasers too, for single handing. And then we did some sloops. So a little bit of everything.
Awesome. I watch Below Deck, so I am very familiar.
I can talk Below Deck all day.
Perfect. We'll catch up later about it.
This is a tricky one. Facts.
Bring out the big secrets, Colin.
So I played like competitive soccer, and I was on track to play professional. Went to some teams in the UK. Peaked really young when I was 15. Stopped playing when I was 21 in college, but played competitively against some people who won the World Cup.
Oh wow!
Underage, so yeah.
Fantastic.
That is so cool.
That is awesome.
Wow.
I did not do anything like that. I think I'll just keep it silly. I think the last time I wore a crown, I was still twirling baton. And that's the truth.
Was it on fire?
Well, I did try doing that a couple of times. It wasn't for me because back in the day, there was so much Aquanet in my hair. That with the fire was not a good idea.
No naked flames.
Yeah.
A fun fact about me, I have like the one that I feel like everyone that knows me know, and that feels funny for today. I did hike 1,000 miles around 5 years ago. So I went with a backpack. I went on my own, never hiked before. And I was supposed to go only and do 300 kilometers. I don't know how to convert that in miles, but it's not that much.
7, 12.
Yeah. And then I actually ended up hiking for 2.5 months, and I met so many people, and that led me then to move to the UK. And it's funny because today I didn't manage to make it to the top of the bloody easy hike that JJS has planned for us.
It was an intimidating and tough one.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking through with us.
Yeah, so I almost made it to the top, but not really. So that was not my most challenging hike today, but today I couldn't make it. And I guess that would be the theme that I choose for later, about vulnerability and not making it through things.
You made it farther than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not leave my hotel room,
Yeah.
so you win.
I was still in bed, I think, when you guys were even coming back.
So well done.
Yeah. But it's one of the fun facts, and it's even more fun knowing that I didn't do 7 miles today. But
it was a beautiful story hearing today, though, and I appreciated hearing that.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think I have a fun fact. I think I have a boring fact. The fire thing, the fire toilet. No, I got thrown out of school for fire breathing.
For fire breathing?
Yeah, they were like, this is
Dragons.
dangerous, and you shouldn't be doing this. And I was like, well, I couldn't really say anything because I had a mouthful of paraffin. So I got thrown out of school for fire. There we go.
I have to ask, what age were you when this happened? Because I can imagine it being at varying ages. And
No, it was I was 15, 16.
Oh, wow.
Old enough to know better, I guess.
That is the peak.
Dumb enough to do it.
It's arson age.
Yeah, it's a peak arson age.
Yeah, but like you.
For sure.
According to the crime
slaughtering small
documentaries.
animals.
According to some personal experience, but no legal arson here.
So I was like, it was the last day of school, and my friends wanted to see it, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, I'll show you. And the like it makes a bit of a mess, right? So you can't like wear your school uniform in England, so you wear blazers, shirt, and tie. So I was like, well, the obvious thing to do is just to take the top half off, and like I'm standing there with like a crowd of friends, and I'm topless, and I'm holding like a flaming torch, and I got a cup full of paraffin. I'm like. And the teacher came around the corner and he was like, Mr. Williams, this is the most, like, I can't believe what I'm saying. This is the most interesting thing I've seen in 15 years of teaching. And I was like, if you stay there, it's about to get much better. Right? And he was like, inside. And that was it. I was thrown out. So, yeah.
Did you blow the last flame from the paraffin in your mouth is the question.
No,
you knew that it was all in at that point. You might as well just finish.
Actually, he was too far away to get to me. I could have
You could have just burned him like a dragon with a Game of
Thrones on his hands.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of in the theme there. So,
yes. Royalty, dragons.
Your story has actually made me think of a good question for us to talk about today, which is like, what is one thing in the legal industry that you would like to set on fire? And then we'll go on to more positive topics, I promise.
And let's set some ground rules. It can't be all lawyers. Like the answer to the question can't be all lawyers.
It can't be in any specific individuals.
or media team.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it tougher.
Since I'm right next to you, I'm going to just jump in. I think that I would prefer people's bad attitudes in unimaginative ways to go. A lot of times you can make a lot of magic if people are creative and think beyond the box. And it's a lot of times boxed-in thinking that holds folks back. So if people could go along with the vision journey a bit more and be a little more positive, I would burn down their negativity.
That actually made me think of what I want to burn. It's what I'm doing with the Beautiful Souls in Legal Tech. I want to burn that goddamn box because no one fits in it. Think like it's about just like individuals. And that's what I think legal tech and legal ops are very good, is because we need to be that creative. We are allowed to be ourselves. But that box is still there and I don't know why. So I would burn it down. So yeah.
The box is there because it works for some people.
Yeah.
And so the people who it works for don't want to change it because they don't see a problem.
And it's white men, like mediocre white
partners,
men, that create that box and keep it.
Say it louder, Krista.
Mediocre white men.
Move the microphone so we can. So we were talking in France when the Chat GPT was launched and everything, and it was like, and we were talking about this last night, like in being confident, and like Chat GPT is very good at being confidently wrong, and we're like, well, they've automated mediocre white men. Like this,
it's true.
This is it. They've come for our jobs. They've come for our jobs first.
It's brilliant insight.
I think for me, I'd want to burn gatekeeping. Hopefully keep us open and fresh and move away from that fixed thinking of like, this person looks like a legal ops person and this person doesn't, so I'm not going to share with them or I'm not going to network with them. So I just want to keep it open for as long as possible.
I feel like, too, keeping it open also lends itself to new roles, because I did not grow up thinking I would be in this role. This role didn't exist. Many of our roles didn't exist when we were younger, right? But the more things change, the more technology and the more creative and innovative thinking creates new roles.
Exactly.
Back in the day, bridging the gap between legal and IT was one thing, but now you have to bridge the gap between legal and IT and compliance and privacy. And it's just like you need this perfect unicorn now. And I think it really is a challenge to try to find, the right person to go to. So there's a whole opportunity, I feel like, for a lot of new roles.
Yeah. Kind of on that point too, I think what I would burn down is legal not having a seat at the table. You have all of these teams that traditionally have had seats at the table. Legal ops has not.
I'll jump in. I'd say there's one thing burning things down, right? But there's another thing like building blocks, building bridges, and that all has to happen simultaneously. So I agree with 100%. Sear that box or let more people in to the camp with better ideas, so you get better and better. And it's like if you look across the board at legal operations positions, there's some people in elevated positions, there's a lot of people in starting positions. They all have a seat at the table, right? And it's like, we're here to grow together. But, what really kind of concerns me is just having conversations with folks and their GCs shut them down. Their change management and commercial teams don't let them have like an opinion. So there's a lot of things kind of stacked against them right now, even getting buy-in in their own internal teams. So just I think with more kind of competence and elevated discussions, we're going to get to a place where we're going to overcome that. But there's definitely kind of challenges there, but and not go to traditional routes, right? Where it's like, hey, it's who you know, where you're going to get a bonus, you're going to get in. Just being fucking calling bullshit out when you see it. And give people an opportunity to succeed.
And it feels like the legal ops space is better at doing that than like.
Because we talk about it. That's a good thing, right? That's like we're giving voice to it, like, and that traditionally doesn't happen in some industries.
Yeah, like there's like Omerta in the legal. Like it's a while since I've been to like the IBA conference or like any of the big French legal conferences. It's a while since I've been to them. But there's definitely like Omerta, and like if somebody criticizes a firm as they leave or says something bad about the culture, then nobody else wants to hire them. And that kind of gets shut down.
We should have like 5 competitors in the space. Like we have a big world out there.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of legal teams.
Yeah.
And half of it is fast asleep. They're not here this week. The ones that are here are probably on the cutting edge. So the more we kind of give voice to it and allow people to show up,
we need to meet.
The more of these conversations, we just lift the whole industry together, right?
Yeah, we have to meet people where they are. And I totally agree with you. We need to provide a foundation. I get so many people messaging asking, how do I break into legal ops? And I can sit on calls and give them my templates and stuff like that. But at some point, it has to become more sustainable. There has to be someone who's a paralegal who can go
100%.
Go get a certification and then apply for jobs. And like the CIPP for privacy, right?
Yeah.
We need to have that baseline so that people can have that equal mobility, and it's not just a circle of like us professionals who already have the networking done, just like rotating seats every 2 years.
But if you have like, if you look across like North America, it's about 1 million. I think I had data from 2 years ago. There's about 1 million paralegals in legal, right? There's 310 million people there, right? 1 million of those are in legal professionals, like assistants or paralegals. There's a hell of a lot of them out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're pigeonholed. Like if you look at the data across the 50 states, like in Mississippi, they're earning 40,000, and the Bay Area as a paralegal, they're probably earning 240,000, right? But paths to legal ops they're not baked yet, right? For them, and that's usually like folks coming out of project management, it's like ex-attorneys. Like, and some of these paralegals like would be just absolutely wonderful, game changing if you could like put a fire on them and get them in there.
Yeah.
Former paralegal and contracts manager. I completely
Paralegal
agree.
too.
Former paralegal. I kind of fell into it, to be honest. So when people similarly reach out to me and they're like, let's have a conversation, I'm like, I don't really know what to tell you. I don't completely get how I ended up here.
I was a paralegal and then contracts manager. And then while I was a contracts manager, they were like, hey, we need a CLM.
Yeah.
Sounds like a you problem.
On your lap.
It just all flows downhill. So it's always the paralegals, the legal assistants. They're already doing that lift. And I think a lot of people just don't know that legal ops exists as its own thing.
Yeah, they're still not. It's not big enough that the paralegals across the board are not paying attention to it. But it would open up like different career tracks for them, different wage levels, take them out of their kind of, because HR is baked. There's a lot of data on it, right? So all those, like, they're getting underpaid for what their jobs are doing, right? As paralegals, they do so much.
And they're already doing that work. They're just not getting paid for it.
They see everything from the front door, like the process, the technology, the freaking managing the attorneys, the relationships, like it's dealing with consultants, it's everything legal ops does.
Yeah. And that maybe shows a problem as well, because I think we all did, if we were lawyers before paralegals, we all did legal ops DIY. I know I did. I didn't know it has a name at that time. And that shows especially a lot of paralegals did it, because a lot of people started to think that legal ops was more like kind of, doing an Excel spreadsheet, improving, like processes, and it was not yet a leadership position. And I feel like it's very hard now to break in because we are kind of still building it. And there are like few people that can have access to clock, that can afford to go to conferences, but not everyone. And I'm based in the UK, Emily and Jonathan are based in Paris, and we had even like a conference in Paris talking about the disparities between the regions, between the companies, and that makes it hard. And I get your point on having like different communities and people like speaking up, because we want to go from someone that just like, oh yeah, that sounds like a you problem, to a leadership position, as you mentioned, have a seat at the table. And the role is evolving, but I feel like it would be hard. There are like some training and certified like training to be legal ops, like I see it in France, or like what Emily is doing as well. But it's so hard to take a grasp of how we should train people, because we all got there by our transferable skills, by what we brought to the table, and we built up our role. We became experts because we went into the mud, into the dirt. We were just like thrown like that and just like learned. But I'm not sure if we could do like a real like certified training that goes for everyone. But I think we kind of little by little getting there and trying to have this more legal ops sexy, legal ops shiny, legal ops is leadership. It's like it's GC and legal ops working together. We're getting there. It's hard. It's still like people like struggling. So I feel like that should maybe like give it paralegals. Maybe they think they cannot do that, but they're doing it. Maybe we should advocate more about that. You're actually doing the role. Maybe the way we advertise about legal ops should be done differently, so it looks even more shiny, and people think of it as a career and not like something you fall into it by default, and then you make your way to the top.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd known this existed, I would have been here 10 years ago when I started in-house.
Sure.
I am way happier doing legal ops work than I ever was doing way too many transactions and things like that. And it's given me just a sense of peace and
Community.
And a huge community. Last year when I came, I did not know anybody. I met a handful of people, but was like way too shy to actually branch out. And just over the past year, I've been able to I'm meeting all of you in person. So that sense of community too, I think we have the connections to start building this stuff out. It's just finding the time to do it.
Also, I felt, to piggyback off of what you said, Marie, when you said, meeting people where they are, that's true in any sense, in a business world or in a personal relationship, just meeting them where they are. Having a background in teaching a lot of, legal software to attorneys and paralegals, and going into a class, and I've got one over here that wants to learn super advanced searching, and another one over here that's still trying to figure out the difference between a left click and a right click, And so meeting them where they are, like having some kind of an assessment or something to help them figure out where to go to next. But also, I feel like there is paralegals that come with such different experiences, even from a plaintiff side to a defense side to in-house to there's just so many variances and so many good experiences that they can bring to the table in that kind of a role, and maybe they don't even know yet.
Exactly. In France, the thing about paralegal or legal background is definitely a question that we are trying to address at the moment. Because the market is much less mature than it is in the US and sensibly less in the UK, then I feel like they are trying to push the paralegal to get a legal ops position, but not for the right reason. But because it would be like a top hat on top of your hat, and you would not get a pay raise, and you would not get any training or anything. And so every time they ask me if they could push paralegal, I'm like, well, not really, unless you give him a huge pay raise, and you put her like your deputy GC, because we do share the same vision, and my vision is the legal ops should be the deputy to the GC to make you come to the board of directors, because in France the legal GC are not in the board of directors, which is like ridiculous. And so that's okay if you want to push your paralegal, but not if that's because you're trying to spend less money on them. That would not be fair. So like pick your way, but manage to find the right position, find the right person within your team that may be a paralegal, maybe a legal advisor, it doesn't matter, but just push him or her, pay her fairly, and give him or her some training so you can trust.
So it's interesting that I heard you say her several times, and then at the end you said he, her. You did. But I think it's interesting to unpack that too, because a lot of paralegals have these gremlins, females have these gremlins in their head, like, oh, I can't do that. which they can, maybe they haven't done much budgeting or anything like that. But if you've ever done an early case assessment for your client and told them, okay, it's going to cost this to, go to trial, it's going to cost this to take the depositions, it's going to cost, you've done some form of budgeting before, but most women, I feel like, only apply for roles that they're 90% qualified for. Or most guys will apply for a role that they're 50% qualified for and just wing it.
At best.
Well, what I found was a massive gap here as well is like that there's not training in-house, right? You got to show up with experience, right? There's not a lot of like I talked to some of the folks in Germany. You're thinking about it a little differently. Like you come in as like sweeping the floors, and all of a sudden, then like you're running the shop, right? You're getting trained the whole way up, and I think so, the U.S. companies, at least I work for, you got to get trained on outside and bring it in, instead of like they should be teaching everybody about finance, fiscal discipline, right? And it's like there's not enough. You're only getting it if you're doing a project, right? There should be like concerted efforts to teach people around that to get them up to, just a minimum threshold of what's going on in the company.
And you're blinded too. If someone comes to you and has a recommendation that's based off of that, but you don't have any education in the space, it's no different than if you have a team of e-discovery people that are your go-to people for large matters or something like that. And then you say, okay, this is how we need to handle it. And you go to the GC or you go to whoever the attorney is and you make the recommendation and they dismiss it, but only because they don't understand it. Only because they haven't, they don't need to be completely at your level, but they do need to have some form of education.
And trust. All trust.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the other thing about the legal ops. And if the legal ops is a person that comes from within the company, then you have to give him or her, trying to be inclusive again, trying to give him or her some legitimacy.
Legitimacy, yeah.
Because who's going to take all, if you were the paralegal before and now you're the legal ops, who's going to take all that from you when you say, like, you have to fill in those gaps, you have to put this information in the thing, and then they're going to say, well, they don't care, because who's asking? You're just a paralegal who's got a top hat, and that's very unfair on the person.
And I think it's in purpose, like that they put, like the more mature companies put like real leaders in legal ops positions, but most of the time because they kind of want to try it, but they don't want to commit to it. So they choose on purpose people that are junior, and we see it in France. I see it in the UK.
Exactly.
Most of the people that are legal ops are actually quite junior. They don't have the experience to stand up to the business and say, this is not right. And it's made in purpose because it's like, okay, we give you that to try the project. But the real legal ops is making the business more efficient. They're really changing things. It's like it should be valued like as much as a, like lawyer GC position. It's very rare that you have like someone with a real background negotiating, being in the board of directors and knowing how to talk business with the business.
Especially they're part-time.
Yes.
So what's going to happen if you work part-time? I mean, I work full-time and there's only so much I can do. So if you work part-time, you'd be like, well, it's been 6 months and you've done nothing.
Just go to work, you have lunch.
Yes, because all of my daytime is taking all the space. So I only have 2 days a week to do something. You can't do any magic 2 days a week with no training, with no support, no sponsorship, and no money because they don't give any money either. So, like, what are you going to do? Not much.
Well, the split roles too. That legal ops work is almost always going to get pushed to the back burner, just like it was when you were paralegal or contracts manager. And it's not going to get done. It's always going to be focused on making the business money, and the business, until they understand how driving those efficiencies and improving process actually helps the business with metrics, with KPIs, with all of those things that legal's now starting to bring to the table. It's still in its infancy.
100%. Like you have to continue. If you're in legal ops position, I don't care if you're just like new to legal ops, justify everything you do, build your value, right? And then it's like, and then ask for your raises. And I think we need to be like, do a concerted effort, be more aggressive across every company. Doing that because we did with Bright Flag, shout out to Bright Flag. We did that survey. We had 450 people, and we asked them like, what's your income? What's your responsibilities? And the data is there. It's like if you want to be a director in legal ops or a director and above, you got to know like FP&A stuff. You got to be able to convince the business that you need budget for that, right? That is the marker, right? That's the one big thing that kind of stood out for me. that you're earning like, somewhere between 500,000 and above in a legal ops position, right? With bonuses, probably more.
Yeah.
And it's just like you got to continually advocate. The better you are at advocating for yourself, the more money you demand, right? And you should, as a profession, right? Because they're paying attorneys a lot of money. We need to pay the legal ops folks a lot of money.
Layla said something interesting on the hike earlier today. I grew up on a farm and not a great childhood environment where I needed to take up more space. My parents didn't see us very often. And so
you have 4,000 acres. There's lots of space.
We did, that's right. But as a result of sort of not being seen as a child, I grew in size. So I was almost 600 pounds because I needed to take up space. There's something analogous to that in terms of like what's the current state? Well, we've identified that this is tough for people to break into. There's no standardized training. There are gatekeepers of a variety of types to this. We're identifying paralegals, but this could also be attorneys who are coming in to do this also, which diversity-wise, that's good for me. I want everybody to have a seat at the table who wants to do this work. But how do we help folks get there? And it's about taking up space in some ways. It's about showing through analytics your value for your company, showing value to yourself, tracking those kinds of big changes that you're making and what kind of money you're saving, process improvements, and how it's affected the people's lives around you. So it's sort of making yourself bigger when folks don't see you. I guess my interim solution is to take up as much space and to be as loud and as proud as I can to say, here's what I'm doing, here's what my data shows, here's what the program and the ROI on this has been. This is why we make such a big difference.
As a woman legal professional, female legal professional, I find that is really hard for me to do. I'm trying to learn how to take up space and, I don't know, just not shrink myself before anyone else has even tried, because I'm doing it to myself and I'm limiting myself by doing that. And I think there's a lot of women, especially, that feel that way. There's probably other folks that feel that way too. And I think it goes kind of hand in hand with imposter syndrome, which again, it's not a defined industry with like educational requirements and certifications. I think we're all going to feel a little bit of that because I think none of us know what the whole picture really looks like yet.
Yeah. And plus, we're so used to, we're so used to glamorize like the qualified lawyer thing, and and a lot of people when you go to conference, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer. No, they can be anything else, and they can be even making more money and be something else. But there is like this complex of inferiority.
When you should say, I'm sorry, I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. So because I qualified as a lawyer, I don't feel like better than other people. But it's true that it's about speaking up, and I'm so grateful for the experience that I had in sales, in a sales position in a legal tech company, because I went to a lot of companies like law firm, corporates, and I know how much legal ops save money to people. Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful for these 2 years that I had, because now even, in my next role, I would be even cheering people and telling them, this is your worth. If they don't value you there, like just maybe not go somewhere else. I will not be political here. But this is something we don't have access to. And as you mentioned about the community speaking up, the more people share the data, the more people share the experience, people will be like, I'm actually like the... can we say the shit? Yeah, I'm, I made it, So it's about getting there, and in sales, we helping legal ops or legal teams sell the things. So it's about being assertive with your data and be like, this is what I did. It's not you, it's not them, it's my team that built that. We're saving money to the business. We're making the business money. So now give me
my money.
Give me what I'm owed, give me the money. So, and it's hard, and I get you. The imposter syndrome represents one day out of two, so it's just, as you mentioned, it's about trying. And as the data, all of us, we are data experts. We love data here. So get the data and just not slap the people with data, no violence, but just put them on their face and sound assertive. Sound as you mentioned, the mediocre white male, just feel it, instead of channeling your inner queen energy, you might challenge that other energy, or just channel the queen energy.
On the mediocre white man thing, to bring it up again, my best friend and I, we actually started challenging each other and being like, what would a mediocre white man do in this situation? Would they stand up and create space and make sure their voice is heard, or would they shrink down and kind of... So it's definitely something I'm personally working on, but it is definitely a journey also. And lots of ups and downs on that journey.
It is a journey, and I think the validating thing for me that it is real and it's happening is when you do start to embrace like, this is me, this is my expertise, I'm taking up space in meetings, holding my ground. You get called names, you get called defensive and mean and lacking empathy and all these things, and it's interesting, but you just got to keep going and find the balance.
And because you're a woman, so you can, if you're not nice or you're trying to be assertive, so that's why you're lacking empathy or you're not like. If you were a man, like just giving the data and telling the things as they are, I think there would not be that much problem of like the likability.
Well, I realize it does. One of the things that kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier that needs to change is that like I've gone to meetings with 8 months worth of data, and it does not matter how prepared your slides are. It does not matter how much your data is when you're sitting in a room with people who have the mentality of, I'm a licensed attorney and you're not. So if I don't like what you're saying, even if it's coming from a place of just not understanding or not wanting change, there's no dialogue. They're not even willing to come to the table and actually have a debate with you and say, this is what I feel, or this is what I think, because they're already coming from a place of like, just shut up.
They're not receptive to begin
And
with.
that's why it's been hard to get buy-in as a legal ops person, because you're not seen as an equal on the team. So they love what you're doing until someone who is a licensed attorney is not okay with what you're doing, and then you're supposed to just go away.
Those wagons circle real fast.
Oh, they band together. It's like doctors on a med mal case. Like they will protect each other because you do not understand them, and there's no possible way you could understand them. And so I think that there's just this like thing that needs to get broken down. We need to be given that like place on the team from the GC or the CLO. We need to be given a role that is exempt from the other lawyers on the team. So that they know that we're an equal to them, and that they can't gang up on us, and they can't tell us like, go to the GC behind our backs and say like, oh, I don't like this program. I don't know anything about it, but I don't like it. I don't like the sound of it.
It's just being a
Happens the whole time.
senior.
It happens all the time.
It's just being a senior on a specific topic.
But sometimes they're not even senior. Like,
I mean,
Yeah.
did you listen to the
Yeah.
M&A guy or woman?
Subject
or
matter
to the,
expert.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
you're the subject. That's exactly that. That's right.
Yeah.
And why are you being? Why are we being challenged on this by people who know nothing about it? This is like the very annoying part.
It's about red poisoners.
Just want to let you know about my very good tip on how to overcome imposter syndrome that I don't have anymore. Ever since I've been working with terrible men. And then I'm like, well, they do crap. That I can do much better. And ever since I've been working closely with some people with a very top level, and yet know nothing about anything and are doing nothing, but like they, in French we say like brasser du vent, like they seem very busy all the time.
Windbags.
Yes,
Oh,
and when you work closely with them that they do not do anything.
Self-important.
Yes.
And
And
it's
filling jobs and like claiming responsibility.
claiming credit for things that other people have done. Yeah.
So an answer to some of this, which I would maybe say is toxic legal operations, if we're going to name it something, would be, and this is some of my odd fact, I have a background in queer theory and feminism kind of studies. And feminism and queer theory would both have us question, like, where's the data coming from? Who's setting up these data sets and structuring it? What kind of facts are we looking at? Are these facts coming from mediocre white men that are supporting their mediocre white men cases? Like, those are just questions that teach us to be skeptical about what we're saying and what information we're presenting. And I think often we just kind of plug things in from an Excel sheet into a visualizer and take it for what it is. But data that's not structured with intention, especially with ideas around DEIB, isn't great data. It's just data that somebody has probably from a mediocre perspective dumped into something, and they've analyzed and extracted mediocre stuff from it.
Yeah.
So if we could rethink data and rethink how we present these cases, I think we could start being skeptical about the things that we're told and the kind of myths of this toxic ecosystem.
Yeah. And this is super urgent because AI is accelerating this, and the data sets that we have are simply it's just sclerosis for all of the bias that we have, acceleration and amplification of all the bias that we have. And unless it's fixed quickly, like unless it's fixed this year or next year, it will be in AI. And then what you've got is that same problem, but multiplied and deployed infinitely more quickly. And not only have we, exactly. And it's bad enough that we automate mediocre white men and bias, but we're also increasing their leverage by a factor of infinity, because then there's no barrier to entry because you can click on it, and it's one of those, like the invention thing, like AI will invent citations, and like it being confidently wrong is just like, it's one of my core skills. That's
I also hallucinate occasionally, as they say in tech.
So yeah, of course I've done that. Of course I've sent that email.
So would it be okay if I turn the table for a second?
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a different perspective than you all do, because I'm on the outside selling solutions to organizations. And I remember back in the day, I used to have this pin where I'd walk in and it would say, "That's the way we've always done it." And it had a red line through it. Like, stop saying that, But I have a different perspective on working with the different teams inside of an organization than y'all do, being on the inside. So we've talked a lot about what we would burn and what needs to change and all that, but can you tell me some successful examples of when you've gone to the team and you've gotten the buy-in, or what did that look like that helped you be successful in those situations?
It's a great reframe. I think right now at HubSpot, the one that's like immediately coming to mind is we've kind of shifted our method of intake. We're centralizing to kind of fit in with the rest of the business and how we take in tickets, and that's been something that, of course, the onboarding is hard and change management is hard, but the team has started to really like see the benefits of it, which is like the structure, getting the right. They're starting to appreciate the benefits of like going from just email to understanding you have like fields of metadata and consistent information coming in. So those are kind of those success moments that I look forward to when I take a legal ops role, is that aha moment for somewhere where they realize like, oh, this actually does make my day-to-day life easier. Well, and then they start to champion for you.
Yeah.
And then that makes your job easier because you don't have to sell anymore. So
I try and take input from folks, my stakeholders, in the same way, and make it actionable through data that I can look for. Then once I have somebody's kind of complaint or their suggestion, if I can look at data and then see how the data supports that, we can then tell anecdotal stories. Here's something coming in that from this part of the business that they think would be changed. Here's what the data suggests about it. Here are some actionable steps that we could take to get there. That's often helpful to get buy-in from large groups of stakeholders that otherwise may have completely different value sets. Mm-hmm. So it's about trying to take something that's a story from one part of the business, helping other people understand, that's a blocker for them and we need to fix it to make more money. And then everybody's suddenly happy then based on a little bit of data and storytelling to get there together. And that's why it's extra important that we're careful how we structure our data, because when we present it as just data, it's never just data. It's data that I've structured. And so I hope that people always question me, where did your data set come from? How did you create it? And what were you trying to get at with it?
And even once you've finished it and you've structured it, what does it mean? You still have to interpret it. We have a client who has an office in, they have European offices, Chinese offices, Asian offices, all over APAC. And of all the offices, one particular European office has the worst data, what the GC considered to be the worst data. And they were the longest cycle time on the contract on the CLM. They were the highest percentage of total signature time across all of the teams. And there was a complaint about the quality of the time reporting data that the team in this office were bringing. And we kind of dove into the data a bit more with it. And actually the team in this particular European country has higher revenue, higher margins, and actually signs, when you take into account some other factors, it signs pretty much in the same time frame. They have a lower cost, a lower legal team overhead cost per contract, per dollar of revenue. Any financial metric you care to name, they're actually ahead. But you have to be careful about how you structure the data, what it means, and then even once you've got the data and signature time, cost per contract signed, overhead, like the accounting metric, even once you have them and you're sure that you've got the right ones, you still have to be careful about what they say and the story that they tell. Like, at one point I was getting paranoid. I was like, is she trying to fire the guy from this country? Is she trying to get rid of the head of legal? She's using us as like an excuse. She wants me to say he's rubbish and so she can fire him. Like, what's the story here? And it turned out that it was just a different approach in negotiating the risk, and we're going to have to realign on some things, but it wasn't as bad as it seemed. So the data is just so important.
I think
so important.
A couple of things that I've heard from people is we don't understand the why. We have to understand our why. We need to understand the business's why and be able to communicate those clearly. Like that's just empathetic communication is making sure you're understanding where that other person is coming from, because we can make assumptions all day, but in the end, it's what's actually going on inside of their head, not what I'm assuming about them.
We follow that rule too when we're working with a customer, and we answer the whys. Why? What is their pain point? Why now? Does it have to happen now? And why this solution? And it really does bubble up to the top everything that you need to be working with.
In manufacturing, that's the 5 whys.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you've got a problem, I'll ask why 5 times and we'll get to the solution together.
When I started the company 3.5 years ago, no one was talking about legal ops. It was like nobody was getting what I was doing. They were like, "What's this? Nobody's going to pay for this. That's not. Are you going to be legal?" No one was getting it. And I had a few missions, 2 that I can think of clearly. One of them was interested but couldn't find anyone on the market. So we've been running this legal operation for him for 3 years out of 3.5. So that's like top notch. Very happy with this. And after that, we've done everything that was like quite hard, just structuration, the whole beginning of things. Then he decided to hire someone. I was like, yes, this is a good mission that ends with the return on investment very clear and defined. And then he's hiring someone to have someone full time. Yes, this is a job. Of course, you can change the life of the legal department. You just to invest some time, money, and interest in the thing, and we can do wonders.
I think Emily has left me for my last table turning question. I know we don't have a ton of time left together, but we started out with a question, Marie, what would you burn down? What would you build up? I think you just answered in many ways what you did. But I'm curious, for the rest of you, what would you help build up from some of your successes or something that you are passionate about to change the industry? What would you do?
Can I jump in on that one? And I have a question for everybody as well on that, right? It's like it's not discussed. We talk about it on LinkedIn and places like that, but I don't know there's any concerted efforts. Like mental health and trauma that we're all dealing with. Like, like how do we even begin to deal with that as a legal team, and how can the legal ops function really kind of help get these teams the support they need? Because some of them are some of it's so fucked up. It's just, for lack of a better word.
Could not agree with you more.
You know what I mean? It's like, I talk to folks, and I talked to somebody recently in Ireland about this trauma thing, and she's like, Colin, everybody's got trauma. We just don't know how to even identify it. As she said, it's amplified in legal and professions like that, right? Where we just don't address it. We just keep plowing away.
This is normal.
Yeah.
It seems normal.
Yeah, we've just made it normal. It's not normal, so we've got these wound up, triggered freaking attorneys, just you're freaking walking on eggshells to get stuff done.
And they
It's
have
the whole internalized capitalism. It's that the whole culture we have around work, which is that your work product is your identity, and it comes above everything else: your family, your friends, your physical health, your mental health. And then if you don't have work, you don't have anything.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where we have like internalized rules about like where it's okay to cry in the office. Like you can't cry at your desk
In the
because that's
bathroom
unseemly.
only.
Yeah.
Toilet, don't use.
I may have broke that rule once or twice.
I cry wherever. I take up space wherever.
But you know what? I feel like, I mean, it's easy, and I do it too because I worked for attorneys and for 16 years before I broke free. And even after I did, I still wrote down everything I did in 0.2 increments for the next year and tried to figure out, was I successful and productive today? But I feel like it's easy to bash them. But at the end of the day, they're working in an environment where they have unbelievable deadlines that they have to make and things that they have to stay on top of and all that. And so I kind of feel for them, but going back to your point and what would you do in a positive way, I've kind of been hanging on a little bit of a cliff here since we kicked off, and we were talking about how we need the certifications, we need to be able to, there needs to be a program or whatever, but let's say, for example, my paralegal group of friends are listening to this one day and they say, well, how can I just get started today? Like, what are some takeaways that I can do to encourage people to move into a role like this and encourage them to
Legal operators learning development on its way.
Did I just step into something there?
just to talk about transferable skills and tell them to just get started.
That's great.
And make it possible. And on your point on mental health, I feel like, and I discussed that on the last Radio Gaga, we were groomed to think it was normal. So from law school, from whenever, it's our normal that the toxicity. So it's very hard to break free. And as well, maybe what we should build up is a different definition of ROI for the legal team. And we need to think of what are you trying to achieve? Okay, more efficiency for the business. But what about keeping talent? What about making sure that your team is inclusive enough to include parents, to include people that have like a side hustle, a hobby or whatever? It's very important for people who are like at a leadership position, maybe to start having this conversation in a different way until it's getting the new normal. Because everyone knows that it's not a good system, it's not working. So why don't we, use our influence, our position to give like effective change?
Yeah, because it's an ecosystem as well. It's like legal operations isn't just standalone. It's like usually our bosses are attorneys that are just like beaten down right since the minute they're out of law school, working billable hours, working big firms.
This is what I signed up for.
Yes.
I grew up in an abusive home. I carried a lot of weight as a result of it. People don't talk about things that make them uncomfortable. It's not my job to be comfortable in the world anymore.
Can I say I appreciate you?
Yeah.
Just like all the stuff you put out there.
Yeah.
It's really helping people. It's helped me.
You're helping
hard to-
normalize that people have pasts and lives outside of work, and that you can't like segregate that all the time.
And I'll tell you, people are rooting for you as well.
Well, I appreciate and
Tell your
feel that.
story.
And that's what I hope that other folks are able to one day kind of take the leap and say what their stories are, because mine's not out there alone. And that's another kind of, comment. I think a lot of us feel alone in these positions. We're not. We're just feeling alone as a big group. And so helping each other to kind of key in on the fact that we may feel alone or we may feel, bad mentally, but we're in it together and we've got each other's backs.
One of the things that I hear when I'm hearing you talk, and this is my first time meeting you, so I appreciate you being so vulnerable today, is that those experiences don't have to define you, right? And I am a firm believer that beauty always comes from the ashes.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to open up and share with people too.
Yeah, it defines you, but not just that defines you. That it's what you build on top of it. And some sentence I've heard a lot of time is you can't be what you can't see. So it's like we have a duty to, if we give some trauma, to share, because some people may project on us, and if that helps just one people, then that's.
Can I do a reframe? I was reading this book called Adversity Advantage, and it was about somebody that had been, went through abuse as well. And for every good thing that you're given from a good person, like that's a gift, but even the bad things are good as well because they're learning lessons. So you use that adversity as your power, and because it creates triggers and energy, you can redirect that to something more, optimistic and positive, and you just lean on that adversity because it's probably still a trigger for you. Every time you touch it, it gives you that energy. How do you feel that energy going forward?
I read a lot of poetry, as many of you may know. Mary Oliver has a very short quote. It's someone once gave me a box of darkness, and that too was a gift.
Yeah.
And I think that encapsulates it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I feel like I'm going to start crying. Because I just feel like we're just so moldable sometimes when we're in the valley. Like we can't be reshaped and reformed when we're always on the top,
Always time to rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
This is such a
Deserve another episode.
warm emotional note to kind of like start to wrap up the episode on, even though it went by too quickly, honestly. But I'm thinking maybe an exercise that I think I've done before that I like is ending. All of us go around and end the podcast. Kind of give me one word that you want the next year to be, and that can either be like one word that you want yourself to be, or you want to receive from other people. I'm going to steal a word that just came out, which is moldable, malleable is my goal. I want the people around me to be open-minded, and I want to be able to continue to have the ability to tolerate feedback and make change, so that I don't become stagnant and and
My word's belonging. I think that the clock community and the legal operations community at large has helped me feel like I belong more and that I'm less alone in this kind of big world. And DEI principles lead to feeling like you belong. And so if we have a world where we feel like we belong, then DEI is doing its job. So I hope that folks in this community and others feel like they belong more and they're welcome here.
I would say community as well, so it's very close by, but I've found it very empowering to meet all people there. You are so like an event also, it's like going to the future kind of, and it's really nice to have all of this support group and to be able to take this with me back to France afterwards. That's amazing.
I think my word's acceptance. I've done a lot of work on myself, on my mental health, and I feel like I'm starting to finally accept myself for who I am. But I want other people to accept that too. So, yeah.
I think my word is appreciation. Just for everything, just show up appreciating.
I like it.
I'll get a few more words. Togetherness.
I think my word is full. I want to be. I am just on the other side, literally, of a couple months of beating breast cancer, and I want to be. Beauty comes from the ashes, right? And I just have these new, fresh goggles, and I have super clear lenses, and I want so many experiences, whether they're through growing in my role at work or whether they're personal experiences with people or networking and meeting all of you here today. I just, at the end of the year, I just want to be so full. That's what I'm looking for.
When you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was human, because it's quite of my focus, like on the human behind all the professional that we are on, all this diversity. But I think I want to switch to impact, because it's not only about sharing our stories and, hopefully, with Beautiful Souls or something else, I'm making enough space to create the spotlight to so many beautiful souls so people can see it. But the thing is then to make an impact. It's not only sharing the story, it's not only speaking up, it's there is change that needs to be done. And one voice, we can do it individually. But if there are like so many voices together in a space where people can have access to it, and so many different stories from beating disease, and I join you on that, and or like abuse or trauma and mental health, and we made it, and we are not our circumstances. And I can, like, even right now, between opportunities, people would say like I'm unemployed or whatever, but I'm living not my best life, but kind of still. And it's about making the right impact. It's important to speak up, but I guess impact is kind of my manifestation for next year, for the end of this year.
That's awesome. I think mine's pretty close to yours, kind of like appreciation, like being present, because it's so easy for me to focus on the next thing and to be like, oh, we had this target and we've done it, and what's next, and oh, we've closed that one, move on to that one, what's this one, and you're just in this constant. It's the kind of dynamic that like we don't want to see becoming a thing in legal ops, because it's the kind of dynamic that I had in big law. Like it's the kind of dynamic, like, oh, I'm billing 1,800 hours and I need to be 2,200 hours, and then I'm billing 2,200, it needs to be 2,400, like, and
which doesn't exist.
Exactly. And you need to and it's about enjoying the present moment and cherishing what you have, and not just focusing on what's next and what's the next big thing, but like, what have I done well today, and what did I really enjoy?
Well, thank you, everybody. I know everyone has busy schedules this week, and I think the fact that we could take some time out and spend it together, recorded or not, was really special.
Thank you so much, Mary, for
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Colin, for the.
And yeah, thank you.
My
Thank
home
you
is
to Colin
yours.
and Legal Operators for hosting us in fanciest suite.
And thank you, Leila, for the tiara.
Yes, and thank you for bringing
Team effort.
the clean energy.
You're
That's,
welcome.
it's
You're very.
spectacular. So we'll have to stop the
So-
recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.